Hi everyone, and welcome to the weekly illumination reading for Libra. This is I Am Illuminated Tarot and Meaning-Based Spiritual Coaching Services. I am Lauren. Hi and welcome. So this is a weekly reading to help illuminate awareness of your unique internal authentic self, as well as how that connects to your external environment and to your spiritual purpose. So every one of my readings is meant to help you answer your very own I am question so that you can better not only see yourself, but that others can really help see yourself as well. So you can feel seen, but also so that you can experience, again, that spiritual purpose in your external environment that helps you tap into meaning, better see your purpose, and understand how by connecting yourself, your internal, unique, authentic self, fearlessly and vulnerably with your external environment, you get a chance to also additionally be of service to the greater collective human experience, because you're starting to fulfill your role, which is beautiful. All right, Libra. So we are going to engage the Triad of Engagement, which is using the three basic principles of curiosity, courage, and contemplation to, again, illuminate yourself and how you're connecting to your external environment. So what we're going to be doing here is pulling a card, a Power of Surrender card for the principle of curiosity. And we are going to build a question around the energies of this card to help bring what is a very general message into a place of individuality for you, because you're going to be asking yourself this question and then receiving your own individual answer to it. So when we're working with the principle of curiosity, we're working with the principles of optimism, openness, receptivity. We're breaking down those barriers of negative thought patterns, of kind of that status quo mentality where we start to fall into that trap of, well, this is just how I always am. I can't change. This is just how this part of my life and my external environment has always been, and it can't change. And we tap into the reality that we don't know everything about life. We don't know what's around the next bend. And instead of fearing or trying to control what's around the corner, so to speak, we start to bring ourselves into a place of openness and receptivity and optimism around that. If you think about a young child, they are excited about what they don't know. And that's where we want to be too, because we want to be excited specifically as well, towards our external environment, what's perhaps around the corner that we can't see. We want to be as equally excited about what we can't see about ourselves, about that element of what are we going to learn about ourselves this week that might better help us experience our meaning and spiritual purpose in this lifetime. So let's see, what does Libra need to know this week about a place of awareness? Okay, that's way too many. We'll take the first one that jumped out here for us. So we have surrender negative thinking. Well, this is very apropos, since that's what we were just talking about. It says, you have control over your thoughts. When negative thoughts surface, say thank you for sharing and quickly refocus on positive affirmations. Libra, this is one of those cards that I love personally, and it's something I think we all struggle with. It's easy to say, yeah, just don't think negative thoughts, think of positive things. But it's difficult. It's not as easy said or done as said. Easier said than done. Right off the bat, when I'm seeing this card, I just got this image, and actually I'm hearing the song from Peter Pan, and really where it's think happy thoughts. And when you think about the story of Peter Pan, that was how the children, Wendy and Michael, and were able to follow Peter Pan and fly to his world. They had to think happy thoughts, and that's what allowed them to become kind of light as air and fly. And so there's this element here, Libra, of it's not just surrender negative thinking. There's this quality here of almost it's like swapping out negative thinking to happy thoughts, to instead of focusing perhaps on what you don't like and what's going wrong and what might need to be picked apart in a situation, this is about instead tapping into, swapping that out and tapping into what you're happy about in that situation, what brings you joy. Instead of focusing on something that maybe is going wrong, focus on what's going right, or just choose to refocus completely. So this isn't just about don't think negatively. Obviously, there's a component to negative thinking at sometimes that we have to be able to, look at the positive and the negative and weigh them up. And Libra, you're the sign of balance. You are the sign about weighing things up. But sometimes we can get too focused on the negative and we lose sight of, if you think about scales, if we're focused so much on the negative, we actually can lose sight of the positive, which is down here and I can't see it. So there's this quality of rebalancing those scales to where you're not just throwing out negative thoughts, but realizing the beauty of balancing those negative thoughts with the positive. So let's say you're going out to dinner and maybe you don't, so you're going out with friends to dinner and maybe you don't like where somebody's chosen to eat, the place that you guys are going to eat at. Maybe it doesn't have a lot of things on the menu that you enjoy. However, the positive, instead of pointing out to yourself and to others what you don't like about this restaurant and what you can't eat, instead balance that out with the positive of the situation is that you get to hang out with your friends. And yes, it might not be in the best place that you want, but the positive is that you're spending quality time, regardless of where it is. And in addition, you can look at it and go, okay, positive element out of this too is that maybe you haven't been here in a while, and maybe you're going to try something you haven't tried, and you might actually have a new experience of it. So when we're thinking about curiosity, we're tapping into that childlike sense of awe and wonder. And every day you are a new person. You are a new version of yourself. Every day you have learned something more than you knew the day before. And so there is this quality here too of additionally, maybe perhaps tapping into other things or trying old things. And instead of attaching a negative reaction to them, instead look at it from a positive way of saying, well, I haven't tried this in a while. Maybe I might like it. And then just try it out. Doesn't mean that you are going to like it, but you're kind of bringing in a fresh perspective to everything that you're looking at. So if you're building out a question for yourself to help you answer this, what I would say is just to bring awareness, almost not even to build a question around this. It's to simply build awareness, to be curious as to whether to take a look at how you are responding this week specifically to everything in your life. Are you automatically jumping to the negative instead of balancing that out with the positive? So what this might look like is, let's say you get your schedule for work and you instantly have a negative reaction to that. Like, ugh, I have way too many meetings this week. How am I ever going to get my work done if I'm stuck in all of these meetings? And as soon as you become aware of that and you become aware of the negative reaction to this, is to then change it back and say, okay, well, what's the positive in this situation? I'm looking at my schedule and I'm seeing that I have a lot of meetings. And I also know that I have a lot of my own work to do. So what's the positive out of this? Well, the positive is perhaps seeing that you do have all of these meetings, and maybe there are some people that you can connect with to help you complete your tasks in a more timely and efficient way. This is all about working with others. And especially Libra, like in Libra season, which is where we are right now, there is this quality here of learning how to balance yourself with the connection that you have to others, balancing all the little aspects of your life, and specifically for you, balancing the positive with the negative. And so when you, again, in this specific example, if you are looking at a schedule that's crazy, the positive is that this week you get to connect with people. The positive is that perhaps one of these engagements or encounters or meetings might help bring clarity or somebody else into the picture that can help you achieve your own tasks this week. That's how to balance the positive with the negative. Also, let's say you're bringing it into your home life and you're looking at maybe a busy schedule with your spouse or family, and you automatically jump to the negative of, ugh, I have way too many things to do. I can't wait to get to the weekend because I'm just going to be exhausted. To stop yourself and say, what's the positive out of this? The positive is, what are we going to all achieve together? We have a busy week. What tasks do I get to check off this week? And how can I get my family or others, how can I help them also achieve these tasks? There's almost this quality that's coming through as I'm talking. It's just this intuitive feeling of connecting and collaborating with others, of surrendering this kind of negative thinking around, it could almost be the control of, and it's strange because this card doesn't bring forward an element of control, but I'm getting that feeling just intuitively. There's this quality of wanting, almost like wanting to do everything yourself. Like, this is me, this is how it is, and I need to do it my way, because if I don't do it my way, everything's going to go to hell, so to speak. And it's kind of about bringing this back to yourself and realizing, no, the balance is actually collaborating. There are two sides of the scale. Just like we always are connecting with somebody else in any situation, we are never fully alone. We don't live on an island. So there is this quality this week, Libra, about seeing the positive aspect of being a little more vulnerable, of connecting with others, of maybe even in the workplace, maybe having to delegate something to somebody else. You don't have to do it all yourself. Same within the home, delegating something in the home. Maybe you don't have to do it all yourself. And this helps you focus on the positive versus the negative of, I get a chance to work with another, or I get a chance to take a little something off of my plate and allow somebody else to take it on. And instead of falling into that negative thought pattern of, well, they might not do it as good as I do it, or they might not, they might say no if I try to delegate something. There's this element of stepping into that place of optimism, positivity, and receptivity to what help you may get from your external environment, what help you may get from others, and where you also might be. So this is actually the question, surprisingly, that's coming in for me, for you to ask yourself. Where this week are you going to be surprised in the delegation or the sharing of some task where a person is going to do something, it's going to rise to the occasion more than you were expecting, or where you're going to end up having your life benefited in some very surprising way. Meaning you might delegate something to somebody, and that person, let's say it's even at work, might come back and say, oh my gosh, I was waiting for you to delegate that task for me. Can I please take this on from this time forward? Or can you please teach me? I've been looking so forward to learning from you. Can you continue to guide me and mentor me in this specific delegated task? And can you give me more things to do? Same with that in the home. Let's say you delegate something to your significant other. You might be surprised by how they might do it even better. They might have this beautiful way of organizing the kitchen, or finding a better way to pick the children up from work, or whatever it is. But I think opening yourself up to perhaps where, by collaborating with others and allowing others to take a little off your plate, where you're going to be surprised at how it not only makes your life easier, but how it's going to open some aspect of yourself up to more time for yourself, or the chance to teach somebody something, or where it's going to bring you closer to somebody that's going to help then allow you guys to work together towards something. There's this quality of, in surrendering this kind of negative perspective of wanting to allow yourself to work with others, releasing a little bit of control over what you do, that it's going to bring in something beneficial for you this week. It's going to illuminate something about yourself as well. All right, so now we're going to take a look. We're going to pull a Spirit Animal Oracle card for the Principle of Courage. And really what courage is all about, it's the courage to take action, take aware action, conscious action from a place of personal authenticity. So this is where you get to engage with self-empowerment, because you get to control your own actions. You get to control the decisions that you make, and you get to become aware of the actions that you take. And this helps you engage with your own unique internal authentic self and how you are engaging this from a place of awareness with your external environment. So let's see, what does Libra need to know about where they need to take action this week? Where they need to be courageous in taking action? All action requires, that's a lot of cards, so let's see if we can get just a couple less. All action, oh my gosh, so many cards again. All right, I'm going to take them. It looks like there's 3 cards that came out, so this is a little less than the other chunk. Okay, so we have 3 cards that came out. We have Giraffe Spirit, See the Big Picture, number 29, breaking down to an 11. We have Wasp Spirit, Sometimes Life Stings. Sorry guys, I'll get that little message off there. With the number 64, breaking down to ultimately to number 1. And then we have Wolf Spirit, Turn Knowledge into Wisdom, number 67, which breaks down to the number 13, breaking down again to the number 4. Really beautiful message here. So there's this quality of see the big picture. Sometimes life stings. Turn knowledge into wisdom. What's coming through right off the bat, right off the bat here is, I think something has hurt you guys in the past. Sometimes life stings. But there is this element now of having to get over that. And perhaps this is actually where the negative thinking has come from. Perhaps this is also where maybe you don't feel like you want to be vulnerable, or where you don't want to share or relinquish control in some way because you've been hurt in the past. But what you're being asked to do is to courageously face whatever has stung you. Face that in knowing that this was all for something greater, that there is a bigger picture out there. And when we're talking about the number 29 breaking down to the number 11, that is, the number 11 is the spiritual gateway. That is basically being able to see what can be when you connect with your spiritual purpose. And then when we have here, turn knowledge into wisdom, this is where you get a chance to take the lessons learned from the hurt and from where you're feeling, I think, that this negative thinking of that. So a lot of times negative thinking comes from a place of self-protection. We want to protect ourselves from ever having to experience the pain that we experience. So and this can even be down to, think about it. Let's say you went out and on a very basic level, you went and ate sushi and you had a bad sushi experience and you ended up getting food poisoning and it was awful. And so to protect yourself, negative thinking steps in and says, I'm never going to eat sushi again because I got sick from it one time. And so now I'm going to just never eat sushi. And in reality, that was a singular moment. It was a bad experience. But where you can turn what happened, instead of preventing yourself from enjoying sushi in the future, what you can do is turn that knowledge into wisdom to say, okay, that was what I was eating was maybe not handled properly. And so I'm going to go to a different establishment where they handle the food appropriately. Or maybe I ate something specifically. Maybe I had shellfish and I might be allergic to shellfish, but I'm not allergic to regular fish. And so I will make sure to stay away from shellfish and only, get regular fish. Something along those lines. So where you're not completely cutting yourself off from ever having to experience a positive sushi experience. Now I know this is seems like silly, right? It's like a silly silly, very dumbed down, small version. You're like, how can this be connected to my spiritual purpose? But what we don't realize is we're meant to experience life. And we never know where in one experience we might open ourselves up. We might step through that portal into our spiritual purpose. So the more things that we cut ourselves off from because we've been hurt at one point or another, whether this is on a large level, let's say in interpersonal relationships, or on a small level, like never eating sushi again, that the more we cut ourselves off from things, the more we limit our potential to experience and step into our spiritual purpose. So what this could look like is the more times, let's say you stop yourself from eating sushi. Well, maybe then you say no to multiple get-togethers with other people that take place at sushi restaurants because you're like, nope, I had one bad experience. I'm not going to go. I can't eat anything. I don't want to go there. And so you maybe miss out on the chance to go out and get a better relationship with your coworkers because they go there after work one day. Or this is a place where your friends go continually and you don't get a chance to have that engagement with your friends. Or just on the very simple level that you don't get a chance to experience the most amazing, beautiful sushi coming from a chef or a sushi chef who looks at their sushi like art and who wants to share that with you, and you miss out on that beautiful experience. This is where we get to connect, where connection becomes so important. Now, sometimes what we don't realize is that actually in breaking down our own negative thinking towards something or around something, we get to connect with somebody else's spiritual purpose, and that can actually help illuminate our own spiritual purpose. So maybe in seeing the passion and the artistry behind one person's ability to create an amazing sushi experience, you realize, wow, that was so impactful. I didn't even know food could be an art form like this. You suddenly get a spark to say, wow, I want to do this. And maybe I don't want to make sushi, but maybe I want to go back to culinary school and I want to create food that's a work of art. So that's where we just don't know. That's the beauty of being curious. And where also when we step into a place of empowerment and taking action, we can change our perspective on something. We can change our perspective from just knowledge. We can turn it into wisdom. Because yes, knowledge is knowing that one time you went to a sushi restaurant and got sick because there was poor food handling. But wisdom is then knowing that you can get sick from any restaurant. You can get sick from any improper food. You can get sick from preparing food in your own kitchen if it's handled improperly. But where wisdom comes in is that you realize, okay, I might not go to that establishment because they don't handle their food properly, but I will try another establishment. So right there, you've turned knowledge into wisdom instead of knowledge into negative thinking. Instead of applying a singular event that should be tied to a specific place, you've now applied it to everything. So this can look like you having let's say a bad romantic relationship with one person, and then you apply that to everybody. And instead saying, no, that was just that one person. And what I'm learning is that I can take away that one negative interaction, what went wrong here, and I can then go forward and choose to try to avoid maybe that negative specific instance with somebody else, but that's not going to prevent me from seeing somebody else in a positive way. I'm not going to sit there and say, well, all men are bad or all women are jerks. I'm going to sit here and say, that was that one person. And I'm going to make sure that I don't make that same mistake with them as I do with this person, but I'm not going to apply that person's mistakes to this other person. So this week, it's about having the courage to take a look at areas where perhaps you've kind of cut yourself off and you've kind of applied that whole everything is this way, everybody's this way, all places that serve this food are this way. All people that do this are this way. And instead, opening yourself back up, choosing to turn knowledge into wisdom, and to see the bigger picture, to see perhaps that, again, sometimes when we experience a negative experience, it's actually meant for us to learn something about ourselves. It's meant for us to tap into resiliency within ourselves to come back bigger and stronger. So there's something here this week that you're going to learn something about yourself, and you're going to learn about something you've cut yourself off from, and possibly somebody you've cut yourself off from. Perhaps you have not been connecting on a certain level with people from a place of fear, from a place of hurt, and where that might actually be preventing you again from really stepping into answering this question of where have you been holding yourself back from allowing somebody else maybe to share in a burden or take the reins in some aspect of your life so that you don't have to bear so much on yourself. Okay, and last but not least, we have a card, 2 cards that just popped right out, so I'll take those. But we're going to tap into the concept of of contemplation. And the contemplation is the final principle in the Triad of Engagement, which is where we utilize curiosity, courage, and contemplation. So contemplation is where we get the chance to take a look at where we were curious. We get a chance to see where we took action, and then we get a chance to contemplate on the consequences of those actions. So we get a chance to see, okay, I was curious about what I've been cutting myself off from with negative thinking. I'm going to get curious as I've taken action, what happens when I start to look at a negative experience in a more positive way. I get to see the bigger picture as to what I learned about myself from that negative experience, and how am I going to turn that knowledge into wisdom. And by doing that, what am I opening myself up to? And what am I realizing about myself that I had been cutting myself off from realizing? So in contemplation, we have 2 cards. We have To the Sea, number 7. And we have Happy, Happy, number 26, breaking down to an 8. I love this card. Who doesn't? But I love these 2 cards together because there's this element here of To the Sea. Now, for me, just intuitively, it doesn't really pick up specifically on what this card means in this specific oracle deck, but coupled with the number 7. The number 7 to me is where we get a chance to have almost like a divine pause to connect with spirit, to have that moment of personal, one-on-one spiritual reflection, where, and that's kind of what I even see in this boat. She's there by herself and she's choosing to reflect. She's choosing to go out into the great unknown of the spiritual realm and to sit and reflect on their life, on your individual life. And with Happy, Happy, I think what is trying to come through here is maybe perhaps you've been out there kind of on your own and you've maybe felt a little alone. And I think that's what you're going to realize this week when you focus on connection, that you're going to see where you've been cutting yourself off from connecting authentically from others. You're going to see where you've been, cutting yourself off from just enjoying some aspect of something in your life because of 1 or 2 negative experiences in the past. And where now when you're opening yourself back up to them, you're going to realize you are a different person. We are a different person from one day to the next because with each day that goes by, we've learned something new, we've experienced something new, and we get to carry that forward into the next day. And there's this element of happiness, of just pure happiness wanting to come through. And I think when you get this chance to just openly connect with spirit and to have that moment of divine pause to kind of take a look at everything with a fresh perspective, that the positivity that's going to come through and be illuminated for you is that there is so much joy and happiness waiting for you, but you've been blocking it. And so this week, open yourself up to the new. Open yourself up to where you've been blocking yourself. Be curious about where you use the phrase, well, they're all like that, or I don't like this because this one time this happened, and so I never do that. I never go there. I mean, this could be something as simple as, I'm trying to think of another very basic example. Maybe jobs. Maybe one time, a long time ago, you had a service industry job, and maybe now you're on the lookout for a new position, but you've held yourself back from maybe you need a job. Maybe you were laid off because of the pandemic or something like that, and you've been avoiding, maybe you haven't been able to find a job where you've been applying, but you've been avoiding maybe applying to jobs that focus on the service industry because at one point you had a negative experience around the service industry. And so you say, well, I don't ever want to be in that again because I had a bad experience down the line, and all service industry jobs are difficult, and all service industry jobs make you work nights and weekends and all, that kind of thing. And in reality, if you just open yourself up to them with a new perspective, and let's say you just say, I'm going to take action. I'm going to see what Spirit is trying to show me as the bigger picture, and I'm going to just apply to a couple service industry jobs and see what happens. And if I get one, I'm going to try it out, and I'm going to see how me as me today is going to respond to that now versus what my experience was before. This can be the same with maybe going on a dating app and maybe you had a bad experience previously, but now you're a different person. Maybe now 2 years have evolved and things have changed in your life, and you will come to the table with a different realization about yourself that's going to attract a different type of person. So this is really where you get a chance to see what's changed. This is a really beautiful week of illumination because you're going to get a chance to see where you get to revisit something old in a new light and with a new positive experience. And you're going to get to see where, by changing your perspective, you get a chance to see how much you've grown and changed. And you're going to realize something new about yourself, something that wants to come through, something that wants to have you kind of remember something so that you can take an opportunity that is going to help get you closer to realizing your spiritual purpose. And just pure happiness. This is what's wanting to come through. And, that's really, I think, where you're going to see where you've been blocking yourself off from experiencing this. All right, Libra. I hope you have a wonderful week. And if you'd like to book a personal tarot reading or a one-on-one coaching session, the link to my website is in the description box below. Obviously, as always, I appreciate any likes or subscriptions, but they're not necessary. Just you watching this is enough for me. So have a wonderful week, Libra, and I will see you next week for your next illumination reading. Bye.